Hello friends, this is Subhash Jadhav. Let me welcome you all in the lecture series for Assistant Motor Vehicle Inspector Examination. Here we discuss probable objective type multiple choice questions. Today we are going to discuss about fuel system in SI engines. So let us start. And the first question is carburetor is used in, and the options are SI engine, gas engines, CI engines, and none of the above. In CI engines, we know that it is a compressed ignition engine, and in compression ignition engines, what we do is we initially suck the air, we compress the air to the level where the air gets hotter. At the end of the compression stroke, we inject the fuel in the hot air, whereby it gets burned. That is, the fuel is going to auto ignite. So here we have an injector system. There is no requirement of carburetor in the picture. In gas engine, obviously the gas and air is mixed and supplied. So there is also no requirement of the carburetor. In SI engines, we know that it is a SI engine, that is spark ignition engine. Here the spark is going to ignite the mixture, and the requirement for igniting the mixture by a spark is that the quality of the mixture should be homogeneous in nature. That is, once we ignite the mixture at one corner, the flame should spread throughout the combustion chamber, and for that we have to ensure that the mixture is homogeneous, and that is where the requirement of homogeneous mixture coming into picture. And for supplying this particular pre-prepared homogeneous mixture, we require a device which is carburetor. So carburetor is used in SI engine, not in a gas engine or CI engine. So therefore the correct answer is A, SI engine. Second question is, the function of carburetor is to, so the options are atomize and vaporize the fuel, mix petrol and air in correct proportion, supply fuel air mixture to the engine, and all of the above. So basically, as we discussed, the carburetor function of the carburetor is to supply the air fuel mixture to the engine. So supplying the air fuel mixture to the engine is the requirement of a function of a carburetor. Now, in order to ensure that a mixture is being supplied, first we have to ensure that the fuel and fuel is supplied to the carburetor where air is mixed with it. So mixing the fuel and air in correct proportion is required, because depending on the different conditions of the engine, that is like idling, power, acceleration, etc., the proportion air fuel ratio required is different, and accordingly different proportions of petrol and air has to be mixed. So this is also a correct answer, and we say homogeneous mixture has to be supplied, and in order to ensure this, what is done is the fuel is made to come out of the jet in the form of a spray, and it is atomized, and this atomization results in the higher contact of the air and the fuel molecules, and thereby surface of the molecules, fuel on the surface of the molecule absorb more heat, and it gets converted into vapor. The function A, that is atomize and vaporization, is correct. Mixing the petrol and the air in correct proportion is also correct, and supplying the fuel and air mixture to the engine is also correct. So the correct answer is D, all the above. The function of induction system of a spark ignition engine is to supply dash to various cylinders of the engine. So the induction system of the engine is going to supply what in case of SI engine. So here the options are partially vaporized mixture of fuel and air, fully vaporized mixture of fuel and air, liquefied mixture of air and fuel. So liquefying the mixture of fuel and air, obviously liquefying the air requires a huge amount of pressure, which is not, we are not applying anywhere. So this is not correct answer. Fully vaporized mixture of fuel and air, in order to vaporize the fuel completely, it will require huge amount of heat, which that much amount of heat is not available in the air. So what happens is only that portion of the fuel which is highly volatile is going to vaporize in the carburetor, and further as it goes into the combustion chamber, where heat is being made available as it is getting compressed, then during that particular period the fuel is getting completely vaporized. So what is being supplied by the induction system is partially vaporized mixture of fuel and air, and not fully vaporized. So correct answer is A. The following factors affect the process of carburation. So here we are discussing what all parameters are there which are going to affect the carburation process. Options are engine speed, temperature of incoming air, the volatility of the fuel, and all of the above. So first, engine speed. Here the engine speed is going to affect, because as the engine speed increases, the amount of suction made available at the carburetor in the jet for sucking the fuel is going to increase. So as the engine speed increases, more and more suction is being created, and that is resulting in sucking more and more fuel. So obviously the engine speed is going to affect the carburation process. The temperature of the incoming air. So we know that as the temperature of the incoming air is going to change, the density of the air coming inside is going to change. And as the density changes, the negative pressure acting for sucking the fuel is going to change, and therefore the temperature is going to also affect. Moreover, this particular temperature, that is heat from the air, is being utilized by the fuel for its evaporation. So in that manner also it is going to affect. So the temperature of incoming air is also going to affect the carburation process. Now the volatility of the fuel. So as we discussed earlier, the highly volatile portion of the fuel is going to vaporize in the carburetor. Thereby it is going to supply a partially vaporized fuel to the engine. So the volatility of the fuel is also a parameter which is going to affect the carburation process, and therefore the correct answer is D, all of the above. Next question is stoichiometric air fuel ratio is. So here what is the meaning of the stoichiometric air fuel ratio is the question. Now options are chemically correct air fuel ratio by volume, chemically correct air fuel ratio by weight, theoretical mixture of air and air for maximum efficiency, and none of the above. So theoretical mixture of air for maximum efficiency is not correct, because we are talking of air and fuel mixture. Then we have chemically correct air fuel ratio by volume. We are supplying this particular mixture through the venturi, where mass is going to be conserved, and therefore we are talking of here the air fuel ratio in proper proportion on mass basis, that is by weight. It is not the volume, it is by weight. That is, when you are talking of 15:1, which is the stoichiometric ratio, that is, this is chemically correct. So what is chemically correct? Whatever amount of fuel is there in 1 unit mass or weight of the fuel, some amount of carbon and hydrogen is there, and in order to oxidize this particular carbon into carbon dioxide and hydrogen into H2O, whatever amount of oxygen is required, corresponding to that proportion of oxygen, that some amount of air is required, and that particular air is what we call as chemically correct air fuel ratio. So here it is 15.12, that is 1:1. That means for completely burning 1 unit of fuel, we require 15.12 units of air. So this particular proportion, that is 15.12:1, is what we call as stoichiometric, which is chemically correct air fuel ratio by weight. Anything coming on this side is called as richer, and this side it is called as leaner. Now, which of the following air fuel ratio is considered as a rich mixture in spark ignition engine? So stoichiometric air fuel ratio is 15.12:1. That means 15.12 proportions of air per proportion of fuel. So this is your stoichiometric. And on this side, as we go, we are talking of rich and lean. Now here we talk of rich or lean on the basis of fuel, amount of fuel. So either it is rich in fuel or lean in terms of fuel. So that is what you mean by. So if you are saying rich in fuel, means fuel is more than stoichiometric. In other words, air is less. That is, here on the richer side, fuel is going to be more, and on this side, air is going to be more. So when we say rich, where this 15 is going to decrease, so the amount of air is going to become lesser, and fuel is comparatively going to be more, and that such a fuel is what we call as a rich mixture. So any number less than 15 is going to be richer, and here we have 11:1. So the correct answer is 11:1 is a rich mixture. And On the contrary, if you go to this side, that is greater than 15, 16, 17, 20, etc., that will be your lean mixtures. So 15, 20, etc., these are all lean mixtures. So the correct answer is A, 11:1. And air fuel ratio 8 will have, the options are chemically correct air, excess fuel, excess air, none of the above. So here this is stoichiometric, and as you go to richer side, that is 8 is somewhere here. When it is here, we are saying that when we say 8:1, it means 8 proportion of air per unit of fuel being supplied. That means 8 portion of air is lesser than 15, which means we are saying rich. In other words, we are supplying less air. So, and correspondingly, the proportion of fuel is more. What we say rich in terms of fuel, that is excess fuel. So the correct answer for 8:1 richer mixture is it has excess fuel. So, or we can say it is having less air. Here there is no option of less air. So the correct answer is excess fuel. Excess air is not. On this side we have excess air, so it is 15. Here it has become 16, 17, 19, etc. So if you talk of leaner, it will be excess air. Chemical correct, it is only at stoichiometric. So A is not correct, C is also correct, and correct answer is B only. Air fuel ratio in the range of dash give maximum economy of fuel. Here you can see, here we are plotting this particular curve which corresponds to fuel consumption, and we can see over here on this side we have rich mixture, on this side we have lean mixture, and this is your stoichiometric. So on this side you can see the graph is moving up, and here it is coming down, and that means fuel consumption is decreasing. And at 15.5:1 in this particular region, we are getting a minimum fuel consumption, and thereafter it is increasing. So almost here in this particular range, that is around 15.5, that is 15.5 to 16.5:1. This particular range corresponds to we get maximum economy of fuel, that is minimum fuel consumption or maximum economy of fuel. So the correct answer is C, 15.5 to 16.5. In this particular range, it is giving maximum economy. Thank you.